Hey, everyone. Welcome back to Diaries. Today, I want to take you on a deep dive into the character of Akin from Top Form. At first glance, Akin might seem like the quiet, steady type of guy who doesn't need to say much to be noticed. But the truth is, there's a lot more going on under the surface. Akin's story is one of growth, vulnerability, and learning to accept himself, warts and all. Today, we're going to explore what makes Akin who he is, uncovering the insecurities and struggles that make him real, relatable, and, in many ways, inspiring. The quiet strength of Akin. Akin doesn't shout for attention. He doesn't try to be the center of the world's universe, and yet, there's something magnetic about his presence. He's the kind of person who makes you feel like everything is okay, even when things are falling apart. But what we don't always see is that Akin's calm and collected exterior hides a lot of inner conflict. His quiet strength isn't just about being resilient, it's also about the internal battles he faces every single day. For Akin, the world often feels like it's moving too fast, and he's constantly playing catch up. It's easy to look at him and think he has it all together, but the truth is that Akin is deeply insecure. He's caught in the struggle of feeling like he's not enough, questioning his worth even when there's no reason to. This insecurity comes from a place of always being expected to be calm, composed, and perfect on the outside. But on the inside, he's fighting a quiet war with self-doubt. The weight of expectations. One of Akin's biggest struggles is the weight of expectations that others place on him. He's the guy who seems to have it all under control, but the truth is, he's terrified of disappointing the people around him. He doesn't always express it, but there's this constant pressure on him to be perfect, to be the one who doesn't crack under pressure. It's as if everyone assumes he's invincible because of how effortlessly he appears to handle everything. But what happens when someone is expected to be perfect all the time? They start to doubt if they can ever truly meet those expectations. Akin's fear of letting people down doesn't just stem from external pressure, it's also tied to his own internal narrative. He's afraid that if he shows any sign of weakness, people might see him as flawed, as less than. And that's terrifying for him. Because, deep down, Akin is constantly measuring himself against an invisible standard, one that is set by his own insecurities rather than by anyone else's judgment. Fear of abandonment. Deep down, Akin's fear of not being loved is one of his greatest vulnerabilities. He has trouble believing that anyone could love him without seeing the idealized version of himself. This leads to him often pushing people away before they have the chance to leave him. His desire for validation is rooted in this fear of abandonment. If he's not perfect, he believes that he will be left behind. As his character grows, he starts to understand that love isn't conditional on being perfect. People who love him will love him for who he truly is, not for the image he tries to project. Fighting the need for validation. Akin doesn't want to admit it, but he has a deep need for validation. The fear of not being enough often haunts him, and he finds himself constantly seeking reassurance from the people around him. Whether it's in his relationships, his work, or even his personal life, Akin is always looking for some sign that he's doing okay, that he's on the right track. He needs to know that he matters, that people see his worth even when he's struggling to see it himself. But here's the thing, Akin has this unspoken fear of being abandoned if he isn't perfect. He's afraid that if he shows his insecurities, if he lets others see how vulnerable he truly is, they might not stick around. And so, he keeps his guard up. He keeps his true feelings hidden behind this mask of composure, because deep down, he's terrified of the consequences of showing too much of himself. What Akin doesn't realize is that by hiding his vulnerabilities, he's actually pushing people away, creating a distance between himself and the ones who care about him. His need for validation becomes this vicious cycle. The more he seeks it, the more he isolates himself in the process. The struggle with self-acceptance. Akin's biggest struggle is learning to accept himself for who he is, flaws and all. He's constantly measuring himself against a version of himself that doesn't exist, this ideal version of who he should be, based on societal standards, family expectations, and even his own unrealistic expectations. He sees other people thriving, seemingly without effort, and it only amplifies his feelings of inadequacy. It's almost as though Akin believes that his worth is contingent on being perfect, on being the person who never falters, never falls apart. But the truth is, we all falter. We all fall apart. And it's in those moments that we truly learn who we are. Akin doesn't understand this yet. He's still trying to outrun his insecurities, to prove that he's enough, to show the world that he's worthy of love, acceptance, and success. But what he's missing is the fact that his imperfections, his very human flaws, are what make him worthy in the first place. Akin's growth, embracing imperfection despite all of his insecurities, there's something beautiful about Akin's journey. It's the gradual realization that being enough doesn't mean being perfect. Akin's growth isn't this explosive, dramatic transformation. It's slow, it's quiet, and it's subtle. But every time he faces his fears, every time he allows himself to be vulnerable, he's taking one more step toward accepting who he truly is. The moment Akin begins to embrace his imperfections is the moment he starts to free himself from the constant weight of self-doubt. He realizes that he doesn't need to be flawless to be loved, to be valued. His worth isn't tied to the image he projects to the world, it's tied to the truth of who he is, the raw, unfiltered version of himself. And in that truth, Akin finds peace. The importance of vulnerability. Akin's growth is also about learning to be vulnerable. He starts to realize that vulnerability isn't a weakness, it's a strength. It's the courage to show up as you are, without pretending to be someone else. And this vulnerability isn't just about letting others in, it's also about being honest with himself. Akin starts to understand that he doesn't need to have all the answers, and he doesn't need to have everything figured out. Sometimes just being in the moment and accepting that he's doing the best he can is enough. And that's the real beauty of Akin's character. He's not perfect, and that's okay. He's allowed to be flawed, to struggle, to feel insecure. And yet, through all of that, he's still worthy of love, respect, and acceptance. He's still worthy of happiness, even when he doesn't feel like he deserves it. Conclusion. Embracing the journey. So, what can we learn from Akin's journey? That growth doesn't always look how we expect it to. It doesn't always come in big, dramatic moments. Sometimes, growth is quiet. It's found in the small decisions, the moments of self-reflection, and the courage to show up as yourself, even when you're unsure. Akin's journey is about learning to accept that he doesn't need to be perfect. That vulnerability, self-acceptance, and letting go of the need for validation are where true strength lies. Akin shows us that we don't need to have it all figured out to be worthy. We don't need to be flawless to deserve love and respect. Sometimes the most powerful thing we can do is embrace our imperfections and find peace with who we are, as we are. Thank you for joining me in this deep dive into Akin's character. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on more character journeys. Remember, growth isn't about being perfect, it's about being real. So keep growing, keep embracing your own journey, and never forget, you are enough.